maybe different, but it was very attractive for the Paris audiences. Then, the Sacre Printemps came, even though after the scandal, the critiques in the newspapers were, some of them very scathing, some of them very good. So, after one night, Stravinsky became a famous man. He was the talk of the town. But of course, these fantastically good things don't last long. 1914 came. What happened in 1914? Sorry? First World War, that's true. So, with the war, of course, the Paris... hoş geldiniz. Ders bitmek üzere. Adınız ne sizin?
Ozan.
Ozan.
Servisi kaçırdın ya.
Evet.
Kusura bakma.
Of course, war, and then what happened in Russia in 1917? In 1917, what happened in Russia?
Revolution.
Yes? Good. Bravo. Russian Revolution. Bolshevik ihtilali dedi birisi galiba. Arkada. Yes, Russian Revolution. Well, Stravinsky at that time was already married to his cousin. It was a very young age's love. And he had children, and he couldn't go back to Russia. And he was financially in a very dire situation. And he, for a while, he went to Switzerland. And then, during the First World War and Revolution, and after the end of the First World War, the whole situation of the artistic world of Europe has changed. After the First World War, millions of young men had died. I mean, during the war, of course, millions of young men died. Not only the French, the Russians, Germans, the British, whatnot. All European peoples lost a whole generation of men. This meant that the symphony orchestras lost half of their population. And then the whole idea of music has to change. It had to economize. But before we go into that, because we don't have much time, I want to show you Stravinsky himself. We're lucky to have some of his films, some of the documentaries that were made about him during his lifetime. But of course, he was an old man by that time. He was one of those people who had, we call them deadpan people who joke and who make very witty statements with a very straight face, He doesn't smile himself, but he makes these very witty statements. He's one of those people. He knows French, he speaks English, he speaks German. All of these languages, a horrible Russian accent. But he speaks them very well. Italian, and he speaks all these languages, typical Russian accent. This was taken during the time when his, the piece was called Symphony of Psalms. This is so documentary was taken during the recording of this Symphony of Psalms. We can have an idea about the character of the man and the way he sort of present himself to other people. Yeah.
1913, a confused and furious audience drowned out his music. Barbaric, they said. But soon the world decided it would be best to listen.
Good afternoon. No rehearsing, just playing. Through.
Are we ready?
Not yet.
Maestro, should we do it?
Yeah.
Movement by movement.
Oh.
I guess that meant yes. What do you say? Oh. Oh. Stand by, please, everyone. Stravinsky, Symphony of Psalms, first movement, take one.
Stravinsky's music is completely like that of an extraordinary bird, or a very light bird, and of an insect, an extraordinary insect.
He, as I've told you, he was married to his cousin, and he had many children. I don't know the number of them, maybe 4. But his wife was a very frail woman, not very good health. And of course, they were away from Russia and the First World War and the money problems and small children. And at the same time, Igor having love affairs with other women and this and that. She became very ill, very ill, very ill. And during this time, he met a woman by the name of Vera. And they had she was the most serious love of his life while his wife was living. And then after his wife has died, Vera and Igor got married. Here, Vera tells us how they met and later.
Vera de Bosse, painter and second wife to Stravinsky.
When I was in Paris, I knew very well Diaghilev. He called me and said, "Are you free for dinner today?" And I said, "Yes, come, we will go with Novell, with Bakst, and with Stravinsky to a little restaurant in the Montmartre." The dinner was very gay. Stravinsky was moody. I don't know, yet something happened in the family, or I don't know what happened. He was rather moody. And Diaghilev told me even he has some difficulties he didn't save us. So be gay and friendly, this is all. So we met the first time. It was very gay dinner. And then later he came to...
What year was that, may I ask?
It was 21, yes.
And you had come to Paris when, in 1920?
And then Diaghilev spoke very much about the Sleeping Beauty he will make in London, you know. And he asked me if I want to be the queen there, you know. There's not very much dancing, nothing, only pantomime.
And what did you say,
you know?
Da?
I said, с удовольствием, Сергей Павлович. Я очень тронута. And then I started to see Stravinsky all the time.
She used to play chess with the great Prokofiev and charm the novelist Thomas Mann, who thought her the perfect Russian. She has been married to Stravinsky since 1940.
And I went with him very often to the rehearsals and to the essayage of the costumes. And then it was this way. It started this way.
Can you imagine the situation of I mean, it's really unimaginable when I think about it, a man of the valor of Stravinsky, a man of the thoroughness of work, who produced in his early age 3 works which were, well, let us say, real bestsellers on the international market: Petrushka, Oiseau de Feu, and Le Sacre du Printemps. Can you imagine that these 3 works, because of the stupidity of of Tsarist Russia and then the Soviet Union, continues that stupidity, not belonging to the Berne Convention, is not covered by copyright? Can you imagine that when he saw people like Strauss and even Ravel getting wealthy and rich on 1 or 2 works, Ravel and Bolero, Strauss and his 2 or 3 of his operas, and he, Stravinsky, having to struggle financially for 2/3 of his life. He was really in a difficult financial condition. You know that in 1917, 1918, people were collecting money for the Stravinsky family to survive. I mean, Stravinsky, at the time he was writing L'Histoire du Soldat, had a very hard time financially. People say, yes, but he always lived in a kind of luxurious way. Well, this is none of people's business. He wants to live that way. He was accustomed to live that way. And he should be living that way. A man like Stravinsky should be living without having constantly the thought, my God, what will happen to me?
It was this. In the beginning of the first decade of the 20th century, as he says, Stravinsky composed 3 masterpieces: Petrushka, The Firebird, and Le Sacre du Printemps. And apparently, during the Tsarist Russia and later on the Soviet Russia, the copyright was not recognized. The copyright of the composers was not recognized. Or something happened. Maybe the international copyright agreements was not signed by Russia, whatever. So other people earned a lot of money through these compositions, and Stravinsky didn't get anything. This was one of the reasons why he was always